What are the negative effects of technology and social media on our children? Technology and social media are woven into the fabric of our lives. It's almost unescapable to live our lives day to day without using technology. It's everywhere. But how much screen time should you allow your children to have? How much damage are we doing to our children? What are the long-term impacts? We'll talk about that and much more. Stay tuned to the Brother and Fatherhood podcast. Just to set the tone for the conversation, what are the negative effects of technology and social media on our children? Technology and social media are woven into the fabric of our lives and almost unescapable to our lives, our day-to-day lives without using technology. It's everywhere. But how much screen time should you allow your children to have? How much damage are we doing to our children? What are the long-term impacts? What should we do as far as limiting our children to technology, social media, and everything else that goes along with it, understanding that it wasn't a part of our upbringing. And these are different waters that we're treading. So we don't actually know the long-term effect of everything. So how do we move in this new environment, and what should we do as far as our children are concerned? What ages, how much, how soon? Those are valid questions. I just ponder from a day-to-day aspect. My wife has different opinions on it than me. I think of when it comes to social media, that is something that I will safeguard them from as long as physically possible. But technology as it is, I kind of got my boys, my two little boys, exposed to it at a very young age. I know the tablets were both my boys. I remember around 3 or 4, they were right in front of a tablet playing games. Even though they're educational games, they're still games nonetheless. So that's what I'm throwing out there. How soon, how much, how often should we expose our kids to technology as a whole?
My take, I got 4 kids, and my take on technology is it's kind of like we definitely need it, but then you have to ask that question: how much time do we actually allow your kids to be on a particular technology? So to me, it depends on the actual device and the platform that they're using when I give them the amount of time. If it's TikTok or any sort of social media, I would say anywhere between an hour, maybe an hour and a half a day. But that's because that's just fun for them. They're not necessarily learning anything. You're going on these particular TikToks and Instagrams and YouTubes for entertainment purposes. But you can also use technology to the kids' advantage for learning purposes. So if they are on their iPads and they're actually learning something, then I can actually extend their time because it's actually doing them some good, basically, by learning. So what's wrong with them using new technology to go ahead and read multiple books? It's easier on you to keep you from going to the library. So if you bought them a Kindle, then in my opinion, it should be okay for them to actually use that technology, that device, for multiple hours a day because they're actually reading. And that's the only thing that they can do on that device, right? But if you take an iPad, for example, you can actually put multiple apps onto that device. Now you have to monitor what they're actually doing, whether you're doing parental controlling or just monitoring them, telling them that they cannot be on games, but they can go and learn a new language, or they can go do a math equation, or they can go do something that's actually learning and educational on that platform. The problem is, though, if you just give them an iPad, let them go in their room, as soon as they know that you're not, that they're away from you and they can actually hear you coming to the room, they're most likely going to go do something different. So you still have to make sure that they're in your presence so that you can monitor that. But I mean, me personally, I think that we should actually I'm going to allow my kids to take advantage of the technologies that we currently have and that we're currently going to have in the future, because that's where we're headed anyway. So it's going to give them that advantage when new things are coming out, and they can actually be able to learn that and often teach me what's new out there. And when it comes to a time frame, to keep this short and let someone else answer, I will do an hour if it's a YouTube, or if it's a Snapchat, or if it's a TikTok or something like that. I would do roughly an hour a day. But if it's a learning or an educational app, if it's something that is going to advance them, then that time is going to be extended greatly. It could be upwards 4 hours a day. I have no problem with letting my kids be on the device for upwards 4 hours if it's actually doing them good, if they're actually learning from that. and I also don't mind if I don't have anything else to actually give them. So if I take it away, what am I actually going to tell them to do? Watch TV? That's not really a good alternative. So if I don't have a great alternative versus saying going outside, get some sun for vitamin D so that you can actually stay healthy, then I don't see a problem with technology. And the main reason for that is because that's where we're headed. Right now is just the small, we're headed into something where technology, these kids are going to be immersed in technology, including us. We can get into that a little bit later, but it's inevitable. It's going to be to a point where kids are going to be spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day using technology on the internet, on a particular device, using a VR headset, using an augmented reality headset. It's going to be here within the next 3 to 5 years. The cell phone thing is going to go away, and we're all going to be immersed into technology. So there's no running from it. Now it's just about us as fathers getting prepared for that so that you can actually know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
I was sitting there on the couch yesterday, replying to somebody that texted me, and I look up, and then everybody in my house was on their phone. I mean, including my 9-year-old. My 9-year-old's on his phone with his headphones on. Same thing with my 10, soon to be 11-year-old with his headphones on, playing the game, and then also watching TV at the same time. We were supposed to have family TV time that I allot for about an hour to 2 hours in the evening. And they weren't even supposed to be on their phones. I was preoccupied and should have caught that in the first place. But they're on their phones, headphones on, and watching TV. You can't do all that. I mean, you can't do all that all at once. And then my wife's just all on her phone. Nobody's communicating. Nobody's talking to each other. I think that picture is where a lot of people, a lot of families see themselves. They're immersed in screens on a day-to-day basis, in their phones and their social media accounts. They're taking them away from what would otherwise be a friendly conversation, a dialogue amongst family members, amongst friends, and it's distracting. If that's the new normal, which it seems to be the case, especially within my own family, what are those skills that were used to have those conversations, to have those interactions? Those are going to be atrophied, right? So those skills aren't going to be fully developed. You're going to have people that children turn into, to teenagers that turn into young adults that are going to be tremendously affected by this if you don't nip it in the butt early, right? So what should we do as fathers? And I'm asking specifically for myself because I saw it as of yesterday. What should I do as a father to try to get ahead of this and try to nip it in the butt sooner than later? I can only do so much while my kids are in my presence. But if I tell them to go outside and play, which I saw 2 days ago, hey, go outside and play. They take their phones because we need to be able to contact them at any given time, right? That's the reason why they even have a phone. I walk outside where we have a basketball court in our driveway. Instead of them playing basketball, my 2 boys and their little friend were all on their phones watching YouTube.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You got to, if just YouTube, and we can all touch on this real quick. You got to look at YouTube, for example. Let's go back to television when we were kids and how that used to be entertaining to us, right? On a television, or the actual television, you probably had about 200, let's say 300 channels max. Out of those 300 channels max, you probably watched 10, 15 between sports, HBO, watching a movie, cartoons, right? Maybe when you were a teenager, you might have watched some home HDTV TV, but I don't even think that was out when we was coming up. So if you wasn't watching something on ABC, some type of Martin, some sort of sports entertainment, then you didn't have any other outlet because internet wasn't out back in the 90s. And it really was just getting started when we were all in college, roughly in the early 2000s. You take YouTube, it just launched in 2005. So now you saying that YouTube has roughly probably 300,000 channels, if not more, because everyone who actually subscribes and actually opens up a YouTube channel, they're creating a network for themselves. So now when you see kids nowadays, you're typing in what you want to be entertained to. What do you want to actually see that's going to entertain me? You type that in. Whether you 6, 7, or 12 or 14, don't make a difference. You have hundreds of thousands of channels that's going to be able to entertain you. It's completely different from television, to where if nothing's on, you just turn the TV to the next channel, and that's not that. You don't do that nowadays. You actually type in something and you scroll down to see what you want to be entertained by. And that's all on YouTube. It's like every single thing is on this particular platform. And it's actually gotten the kids hooked to where when you even look at what they're watching, we wouldn't have watched that crap back in when we were growing up because it's actually stupid. They're watching someone else do something stupid. They're not actually watching a show, but people are actually getting paid for the viewership similar to television. So when you look at that and you bring those together, it's like, why not allow your kids to immerse themselves in these particular platforms, because that's where technology is eventually headed, and it's only going to get better and better, which is just going to allow them to get more and more immersed. Kids ain't watching TV anymore. What's really being produced? Ask yourself that. Just think of a show that you're going to actually sit there and watch with your kids that you can turn on one of the networks right now and be like, my kids love that network. They love that show. It's not many. Now, they can tell you all the shows they love to watch on YouTube. Now, do you love those particular shows? No, because you ain't even really got in there and really watched it, right? So you ain't really clicking or interacting like that with your kids. At least I'm not. I'm speaking for myself. But I know when it comes on my television, I'm like, cut that off, because it's either an annoying voice or it's something that I don't understand, but it's actually very entertaining to these kids. And a lot of kids are actually becoming these multimillionaires based off of their shows. So I think what's going on right now is this technology is changing so quick, is actually leaving us as adults in the dust to where we can't even catch up with it. But in return, you got to learn from your kids, even if they're only 10 years old. That's my small take on it. What you guys think about that?
Well, I'm going to say, let me interject. I'm going to say, I look at things how I try to revert back to being a kid myself. Nintendo. I'm just thinking about my Nintendo. When you brought the subject up, I thought about my Nintendo. I loved my Nintendo all day long. And so I try to go back then, but then I fast forward to today. I'm probably as addicted to the technology as they are.
Right.
When I look at my screen time, if you look at your cell phone screen time right now, I think at one point, I was averaging between 8 and 9 hours a day. So if I'm having this problem as an adult, it's hard for me to tell my kids not to have the same problem, considering I'm supposed to be the role model. Now, right. If I'm the role model for them, I'm looking at it like, okay, I have to give them some kind of screen time because I take the screen time for myself. So me personally, I give them technology. And like Joe said, you see, I actually sit down and watch some of these stupid things with my daughter, with my son. And I was thinking about the Nintendo thing. We used to go in Mario Brothers. If you went to somebody's house, they had 2 players on Mario Brothers. So if you go over there 5 at a time, guess what you're doing? You about to watch somebody else play Mario Brothers for a half an hour at a time. And it was entertaining. Okay, he did it like this. I'm learning from this. So for me, I'm looking at it like, just so I can tell you guys, I got 2 boys and a girl, 12, 10, and 8, pretty much. Yeah, 12, 10, and 8. So I kind of allow them to do it, but each one has a different capacity in my eyes. So for me to give them all a set, I can't give them all a set thing, because my oldest son takes care of business. He does his homework quick, he'll clean up quick, and he does everything as a reward. So I try to let them know, if you want this time, you can have it. But right. There is business that needs to be taken care of first.
Right.
Now, I have my second son, and I'm learning. He's more of a move around, fidgety type of kid. So you can keep his I don't declare ADHD and all that on him. So let me start right there. But he's the fidgety type of kid that's going to move around. So if he has about 10-minute attention span in my eyes. That's just me. So I'm going to give him 10 minutes. Okay, stop. Do what you're going to do on that phone. All right, give me the phone back. 10 more minutes. Give me the phone back. Let's handle business. So each kid needs to be treated differently. This is just to answer your question, Paulo. When you were saying, what should you do? I'm not answering your question. I'm just suggesting it. I don't want to make it seem like I'm telling you what to do. But that's just in my eye. Every kid is going to be different, and also is going to start with you. So I do force my kids. Now, I want to say force. I encourage them, hey, come sit down and watch TV with daddy. Let's watch some of the old shows I used to watch. Then they got into it. Right now, I think they're on the Fuller House thing. Right. They'll get on Netflix and rewatch Fuller House over and over and over and over again. But it's things that once they see that you take enjoyment of this, then they're going to want to do it, regardless of what it is. So if it's TV, if it's football, my kids love to go out and play football. They have. I'm blessed to where I live on a cul-de-sac. I have about 18 kids on my block total.
Yikes.
So they go out and they play in the street. They run. We have a small patch of grass over there where they going to go out there. They tack on each other. They ride bikes. They poop. They play baseball in the cold side. It's just a blessing for me. I'm going to be honest with you. But at the same time, when they come, I was trying to at first limit it. Okay, you only can play video games from Friday night to Sunday morning. And then Sunday evening, it's time to get ready for school. And then you're done till next Friday night. But I had to start realizing I don't do that myself, and all they're doing is sitting there looking at me and wanting to do the things that I do. So if I go out there and I spend this time with them instead of just sending them out to play basketball, go out there and teach them to shoot. Hey, let's go shoot. Oh man, your jump shot weak. Oh no. Oh Dad, no, it's not Dad. Look. And then I did not explain to them. So it's just me going out and trying to be a part of that. A part of whatever I want them to do. Like Joe said, what am I going to tell them to do outside of playing video games then? So I'm letting them do it, but that's how I'm trying to figure it out. Now, I'm guessing, like all y'all, my father wasn't really in the picture. I had a stepfather, but as a youngster, I wasn't the type of kid to what do you call it? To listen. I wasn't listening. So me and him didn't vibe like that. So I can't say for indefinite what I'm doing is correct, but all I'm doing is guessing and trying, man. So I don't know. I just wanted to interject with that. What y'all think about that part?
And one thing I want to say too, Apollo, just because you mentioned something about you buying you bought a basketball court for your kids, right? Mm-hmm. But then keep in mind, like, let's just say the average person goes out, buys a house. You want everything to be furnished. You want everything to be nice and great. So you do want that piece of entertainment. You might go get a pool table. You might go get a little small hockey little area for the kids. You get the basketball courts. You may even got a pool, right? If you have the space and you're blessed to actually be able to provide that, that's great. But if you have younger kids and you don't plan to actually go out there and hoop with them, go out there and swim with them, and go out there and actually get on these actual games with them to teach them how to actually play these particular type of games, then they're going to resort to something that they already know how to do, which is jump on an actual video game, basically. So if you bought a basketball court and then you also bought a PlayStation 4, they're gonna jump on that PlayStation. Why? Because it's easier. They're connected to their friends. You're their dad. You know what I mean? So you only gonna give them, let's say, maybe an hour a day, give or take. They would rather go play with their friends, and their friends are gonna be connected on this device where they can actually go play like that. Not everybody lives together like they used to do. Like we ain't grown. Well, me personally, here living in San Francisco, it's not a community like I grew up, like we grew up in Central Valley like that. You know what I mean? To where like I can walk to your house, Paula, we can go kick it at the school or something like that. It's not the same like that. People are growing apart. All your close friends are spread out. So if you have a community like Cleves, it makes it a whole lot easier for the kids to stay outdoors. But if you're not teaching them all the things that you can do outside, then they're going to just resort to something that they already know how to do. And they're connected with their friends because these technology and these devices are connecting them. You can be in Georgia, in California, and I can still connect with some of my good friends via this device. I can play Fortnite with you no matter where you stay. You know what I mean? And we're actually going in here and we're actually playing these games together. We're actually talking to each other. We're hearing each other. And I actually can see you. So what's the difference? It's almost like I'm in the same room, because if I was in the same room, if my son is in the same room with your son, Cleve, or Apollo, and they're both looking at the screen, they ain't going to even know that they're right next to each other like that. Why? Because they're so immersed into that game, it doesn't even make a difference. So you might as well keep your son at your house. I'll keep my son at my house. And if they play the same damn game, it's going to be the exact same thing. Why? Because they're so immersed into that technology, they can't even tell the difference between real and reality when they're playing it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't even make a difference. They're playing with some of their cousins, their best friends, and this technology has brought them so together and connected that the kids can't tell the difference between what's real and what's reality when they're immersed in that technology. And that's why I say this is just the beginning stages of where we're headed, in the next 5 years, or at least this decade, to where we're all going to be immersed into technology so much that you ain't even going to be able to tell the difference between reality and virtual reality. That's just my take on it.
Wow. You came from a point where you are providing the pro to leveraging the technology.
Yeah.
Definitely there's pros and cons, but from what I'm gathering from what you just said, Joe, you're saying that, hey, the future is inevitable. It's just going to get more interconnected, and there's just going to be more and more of it as technology advances. So you might as well get with the program and start leveraging it. All right. So if that is the case, how much is too much? Experts are already saying that, hey, too much of this is going to lead to a negative downfall and something else. There's a trade-off. Right. And you kind of already see it in our younger adults and their interactions with each other. Human to human interaction and that whole skill about how to sell yourself to somebody else, and to deal with that back and forth, with that conversation, that controversy sometimes, in order to try to make your point be known, that is all lost. That is all lost. You don't develop that in the first place. And now I think that was a vital part of me developing my interpersonal skills, right? If I didn't have to do that, it's just a simple, hey, you like what you see? All right, yeah, let's go do this thing. If it's that easy, other things that you used to have to do in order to get to that same level will fall by the wayside. And I see that as a bad thing, and it's a negative, it's a con, because you have to have those interpersonals, you have to have those people skills to get ahead in life. To tell me that, hey, these individuals that rely on this just easy technology, swiping to get what they want and get instant gratification, where it used to take hours upon hours of legwork to get that same result. If all that stuff goes away, then where are we at? Those interpersonal skills are out the door. They no longer exist. Those communication skills no longer exist. So how do you kind of prep your children like, hey, this is what to expect, where that's not actually the case? Like, I'm trying to teach my boys, you have to be able to communicate articulately. You have to be able to get your message across through multiple layers of barriers, and in order for the end result, for you to be able to get that end result, where in actuality, it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the case. But
do I sound like a dinosaur? Am I the only person that's is out on a limb here? I don't see it.
I think it comes down to it has to be a balance, because just like Joe said, it's inevitable that technology is going to take over. Technology is already taking over because it's here. It's not going to go away. It's just only going to get better. But it just has to be a balance. And like you said, there's good and there's bad. As long as they're learning and it's educational, then yeah. But when you get consumed with it so much, then that's when that learning development comes into play. And I'm seeing that firsthand with my nephew. He's 3 now. But when he was 2, I think that's when he got his first little iPad or little play pod. And because he is on it all the time, it has affected his speech to where he had to get a speech therapist in order for him to, develop his language, because he's so immersed in that. And yeah, I know as parents, it's easy when you want to do something or get something done. The easiest thing for them to get the kid to be quiet or to, stop crying is to hand them that iPad, to calm them down. So his screen time, I'm sure it's probably, before this all speech therapist, was probably 10 plus hours a day. And it's affected his speech to where when you talk to him, it's almost like a mumble jumble type of language. And you don't know what he's saying. It's just like, I got to ask him like 2 or 3 times, like, what you just say? And then I kind of got to, listen real intently, like, okay, he's saying, hi, or, he's saying bye. But it has affected him so much because he has been on that iPad so much. So that's a negative part, because it can impact your learning development. So that's why it comes down to having a balance, because if not, then like you said, it's going to end up having that learning disability somewhere or another. So definitely has to be a balance. But there is good and there is bad, because if he's learning something, oh, great. But it just has to be that equal balance. And like Cleve said, each kid is different. So one kid, he can be okay with it being on for 5 hours. I'm just giving the numbers, 5 hours, where the other kid, he may not be able to handle that much time. It may have to be less. So you just got to, kind of go with the flow and kind of feel it out. But definitely it has to be a balance.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a balance too, because if you could do the study on your own, Go take a device and sit on it for 5 or 6 hours. I guarantee you're going to feel a lot different 6 hours later than you did when you first hopped on it.
Exactly.
Now, whatever that particular way you feel, just think that it may be a little bit worse for those kids that are a little bit younger than you, but they just don't know that what to do in that situation. This is why now that the majority of the world right now is working from home. If you sit at your desk right now, everyone on this thing, and you work for 4 straight hours, you're going to fall into a totally different state of mind, especially if you don't get up, get some water, go walk around. Your blood pressure going to kind of change. Your heart rate is going to change. It's going to get a little slower. Your eyesight is going to get a little worse. You got to get up. You got to stretch. Your body is going to change just in 4 hours of sitting down, actually doing work that's going to, that you enjoy doing, but it's just over the computer. So there's studies out there that are saying that the actual light that's on the computers or on these devices interrupts your sleeping if you're on it for too long. So now they got glasses out there that blocks the blue light. I think that people aren't taking it serious enough to actually do some true research to get it out there so that we can actually demand things to actually be taking place. So like you should limit your screen time to X amount of hours, because if you don't over the long term, this will happen. And this is a fact. Right now, there's no facts of what's going to happen. So everyone's free fall. Because there's no medical research out there long enough to prove that there's anything that's going to do any damage that's an actual proven fact. No one's actually taking that time. Parents are just making up their own thing. I don't want to give my kids more than 2 hours a day because I think that this is actually happening to my kids. Now, what I can say for my kids is that when they're on it for longer, then I do the same thing you do, Cleve, from Friday night to Sunday morning. After Sunday morning, it takes my kids 4 or 5 hours to get back to just being a normal kid. If I tell them to do something, it's almost like they're addicted. They're trying to go back to their games. They're trying to, it takes them 3 or 4 times to even understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's lightweight like a zombie. They got to like look at you real quick before they even, oh, did you just say that? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Dad. Let me go get over there. And I'm thinking, my only thing I always say is like, damn, is these games making y'all stupid? You know what I mean? Because I don't know the other way of saying it, but that's how I'm looking at it. Because I'm like, didn't I just tell you to go in there and start cleaning up your room? I just have to tell you 5 or 6 times before you understand it. But if I take the technology away from them for 3 or 4 days, they're just like that. They're good to go. You know what I mean? If I take it and I'm strict with it, they're back to being normal kids, functioning well, doing their homework. They're out of that reality and they're good. But if I give it to them for a weekend, like I've been doing on the weekends, Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, it's actually it's a disadvantage to me because now I'm yelling at them because they were on it for so long in a 48-hour time period that it actually did damage to them. I just don't know what it did. I just know it did something. You know what I mean? So that right there, parents can do their own studies is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But I definitely, I'm starting to get away from the whole weekend thing because of the stats that I'm coming up with just since COVID-19. You know what I mean? And I can probably say without a doubt that everyone on here who has kids has let their kids play more games or more devices over the last 2 months since we've been in this COVID-19 than probably any 2 months since you guys actually have had kids. That's because we can't even go outside. You know what I mean? You can't be around other kids. And there's only so much that we can actually do with our kids to entertain them while we're working at home, while we have the energy to do it, to where we have to resort to saying, you know what, you guys go ahead and do what you got to do. Go play those games for a couple of hours because I need a break.
I think both I'm a dinosaur with you, but I do think we are dinosaurs. And I'm going to say because of this, like I try to say something goes on with something around the house, my cable, my internet or something like that. I don't know the number directly to the cable company. I try to get online because I like to call. If I'm going to talk to Joe, I'd rather call Joe than text Joe.
Right.
Hey, Joe, what's up? Because I can get it all out right now. I want the answer now. But when I try to call the internet, I look on the internet, they don't want to give me the phone number. I spend 5-6 minutes just trying to find a phone number online. So it's almost like they don't even want us to talk to them. They would rather us go straight through the internet and have these conversation chats in the little corner. So I think we are the dinosaurs, and we have to. That's why I'm trying to adjust. That's the reason right there I'm trying to adjust, because like Joe said, I can tell that in the future they are going towards this kind of atmosphere where they don't even want to talk back to us. Mm-hmm. So even if my kids are prepared to go out there, which I'm going to make sure they are prepared to go out there and not be introverts and if they are introverts, it's on their own because they want to be, mm-hmm. but they know how to be an extrovert and make a friend or something like that. But it's crazy. I'm with you on that question, man. I don't know how much is too much or too little, but it seems like we have to start giving them more of the other way because people don't want to talk back to you, even if you want to talk to them.
So that's what I said the previous week when we're talking about this. There was a article that I read from a school teacher. I think the school teacher was a high school teacher. And he basically said, hey, things are changing from when he was a child, when he was a kid in high school versus to the kids and the students today. He used the example that right before, the class bell rings and you're supposed to be in your class seated, ready to go. Kids back in the day when he grew up would sit there and they would jackjaw, they would BS with each other, socialize right before the teacher called the class to attention or whatever.
Yeah.
He said nowadays he walks in, the kids don't even notice him being there because they're all glued to their phones. No one's talking to each other. They're not, BSing with each other. They're not talking about what they're going to do Friday night. If they are, they're doing it via their phones and texting, or on social media. He said that is a tell times that things have changed where you can walk in as the teacher, nobody even bats an eye because they're glued to their phones. They're glued to their piece of technology, social media, whatever have you, because they're so consumed in their personalized via social media and or what's going on with the latest, you fill in the blank, that not only personable skills between each other, but now you're self-engulfed, right? So you're only thinking about what pleases you, not so much what's going on with your fellow man to your right or your left. You know what I mean? So those skills, so not only your communication skills, but your welfare for your fellow man to your left and your right is getting degraded because of technology. That's the way this article, this author of this article wrote it. It was like these are trying times. Things will never be the same because of technology. But what it looks like at the end of the day, we still don't know.
But look at it like this, Apollo, and everybody on here. Stop paying your phone bill. Stop paying your cable bill. And tell me how immersed you're not. I can guarantee you your life will change the minute that we take you. Everyone is immersed in technology, whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult. And if you think you're not, quit paying your phone bill right now. Quit paying your phone bill for 30 days and quit paying your actual cable bill, your actual internet cable bill. And just tell me what you're going to do for the next 30 days. I guarantee you couldn't think of a damn thing because everything that we do is used by technology. Everything. You might get away from it for an hour, but you still come back to it. You take a walk, you go get you have your phone with you, you listening to music. People don't take walks without their phone no more. You're telling yourself something that you're trying to believe. Well, I need my phone just in case something happens. Ain't nothing going to happen. Okay, I'm going to take my phone because I want to listen to the radio while I'm walking. Why can't you just do a nature walk and get rid of all your devices? People do it, but it is very dinosaur. It's a lot of older people who do it. We're so connected now. The millenniums, in our particular age, I would say somewhere between, if you are under the age of probably 45, you're too connected. It's too late. It's way too late. And if you don't think it's too late, just stop paying that for a while. We wouldn't even be able to do this without technology. No. How can I? We're not connect. We wouldn't even be able to connect. So if you just put your phone down, if you can't even pick it up to call nobody, or I'm gonna go 30 days cold turkey. I guarantee you, after 2 or 3 days, you're gonna be like, I can't do this. You're addicted already. It's the exact same. It's an addiction. Technology is an addiction, and that's why this decade, at some point, we're going to be so immersed into it that it's nothing we can do. All we can do is just we're going to follow along with what our kids are doing. So it's, I hate to say it, like it's a lot of pros. You know what I mean? There are a lot of cons to it as well, but I think it's inevitable. It's like there's nothing we can do. These companies know that. The easiest way to kind of try to figure out where we're headed in the future is to follow where these big companies are doing. Look what Amazon is doing. Look what Google's doing. Look what Apple's doing. They got all the money.
But isn't it scary? So isn't it scary to live and have a digital footprint where everybody, you can Google somebody, you can find out everything underneath the sun about these individuals. So it's scary to me, right? So I have that parental paranoia that I want to, I fear for my boys, not only because they're boys, but they're black men at some point, either right now, they are going to be considered, that dangerous age, right? That, that I'm afraid for them to actually go out on the streets because they can be thought of as a thug and be shot down for jogging or something stupid. Right. So I have that one parental paranoia for them being black men, or soon to be black men, black adolescents, black youth out there on the streets. Then there's a whole nother thing to think that they have a digital footprint as they are right now, as 11 and 9-year-old that I have. They already have a digital footprint for anybody that wants to easily just do a 5-minute search and pull up all the information readily available on them. It's insane to me. I understand you can't escape it. It's there. And because they're attuned to not know that or what came before. So they had no idea. They were born in this, right? They were born into all this. They have no idea what came before, that we didn't have to have all these things. With that said, they're used to having all this stuff at their fingertips. They're used to living their lives in front of everybody. This is a norm to them. You know what I mean? I'm the old dinosaur that say, hey, that you want to keep some stuff, secret. You don't want to put all this stuff out there, because once it's out there, it's out there. It's like toothpaste, right? Once you squeeze it out, you can't put it back in. It's out. So does all that stuff potentially come back and bite you in your ass on the back end? You know what I mean? So how do we teach our children, all this technology stuff is good, but when you live your life out in the global arena, once you put that stuff out there, it's out there. Joe, at 10 years old, Joe, making the mistakes that you made as a 10-year-old, if you were doing that stuff online today, somebody could potentially, 20 years later in a job interview, bring this stuff back up. Oh yeah, Mr. Joe Lewis, when you're 10 years old, you posted A, B, or C, F, A, B, or C. And is this still how you feel today? You know what I mean? How does this stuff impact us or impact our children later on? I'm at a loss for words to even try to express.
My thing is this, and I'll keep it quick to let someone else chat as well. Putting your business out in the street in these days, in this day and age, is normal, period. What I mean by that is, when we grew up in the 80s, what you did in your house and what you did, you kind of kept it was sacred. It was secret, right? You didn't want to go out and broadcast everything you did, because there was a lot of things that could happen. There's a lot of repercussions. But let's say any person who was born post 1990, that new millennium group, putting their business in the street is normal. It's okay for people. They're broadcasting all that on social media. They're telling you exactly what they've done, what they're eating, by putting a picture up, where they're at, where they're getting ready to go. They even giving you the damn location. You know what I mean? And it's that people are broadcasting their lives to other people, but it's actually coming up. They're telling their feelings online. This is what social media has become, to where you go on a platform and you just tell all. You know what I mean? And you're actually waiting for a response, because if don't nobody respond, then what's the point of you actually going out there? You're waiting for that like. You know what I mean? You're waiting for someone to be like, damn, what's wrong with you? You having a bad day? Everyone wants their business out in the streets. It's unfortunate. It's the new normal, but it's very difficult for someone who was born in the 80s or below to get with that. And I'm not putting because we know. So it's up to us to actually teach our kids this. But unfortunately, that new group, that 90s to 2000s and up, they're kind of outweighing us. You know what I mean? They're larger than us, in a sense. This is why, let's say if you have an OG, for example, and they don't have to be about no gangs or anything like that, you would kind of try to get some game from that particular person. Who you know right now trying to get game from us? When do you have youngsters, teenagers that's coming up to us really asking for advice? They already think they know it all. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but they do got a valid point, because times have changed, but there are rules and there are values and morals that I don't think will ever go away. And that's the problem where where when they're getting on social media and they're doing these fights and they're doing these whatever they're saying, and then people are getting fired on Twitter. People are getting fired on Facebook and Instagram for saying stuff.
Yes, they are.
Just for saying stuff. You ain't even done. You've done something, but you've done it from afar, and you still getting fired. But it hasn't stopped anyone from continuing to do it. You would think that people would learn from someone else's mistakes, but it ain't you. Every time you go on the news or something like that, you're gonna see somebody else doing something stupid. Police officers wear body cameras. They're still killing people. Yeah. And they talk. You have a body camera on, Paulo, and it's recording, and you still say something as stupid as shit, and you know you being recorded. Now, come on, what sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense to me. But people are still doing. You know, you're recording. It's like you looking up at the video recorder, and then you go into a store like, you know what? I hope that shit didn't see me when you go in there and rob it. It's looking right at you. Come on. But that's the society that we currently living in. People know that they are getting ready to do something wrong. They know they're wrong, and they still continue to do it because it's like they really don't know any better. And they're not guided correctly. And then their attention span is so small. If you don't catch them in 5 or 10 minutes, they lost.
So that's so that Quibbly or whatever it's called, that new. So they do it in small doses because they understand that attention span is no longer there. Mm-hmm. Right. So they have to catch them in small little doses. So they got TV shows that are like 10 to 15 minutes just to catch you in your attention span before you lose track and you go off on somewhere else. So Joe, you hit a couple of points. People doing stuff for clout, right? So they're chasing clout. They're doing stuff on social media just to chase this clout because they're living their lives in front of everybody and their mother, right? So they're living their lives online. They want you to chime in. They want that validation. You know what I mean? So people
want other people's lives. They want to live someone else's life, and the social media allows that. They allow you to look and follow someone who's doing better than you, so that you can actually try to live their life. And then you don't want to do any of that hard work or that person was doing. So you start hating, basically. That's instead of being motivated by that person, you actually go to hating or whatever, and you want to live that particular life.
It's allowing people to live a alter ego, pretty much. That's what it's doing.
Right.
Social media, it's a lot of people that's living an alter ego, because you meet them in person and what they put on social media, it's a whole 180-degree difference.
Right.
So they live in they catfishing, the world. That's what they doing. They catfishing the world.
But how do you safeguard your children from that? I mean, how do you? Yeah. So how do you do that?
Because go ahead, Paul. No, I was going to say as technology changes, society changes. So there's companies, that's being developed or that are developed right now to battle this, identity theft, cybersecurity, whatnot. So as technology advances, so does that advances as well. Granted, you still got to let them know, like, hey, you got to be careful what you're putting out on the internet because it's like you said, it's a digital footprint. We can only say so much, but like you said, also there's companies around that's trying to target this as well to kind of erase that or to eliminate that. Because I have, because of what I do, if you try to Google me, you ain't going to find nothing on me. But I paid a company to eliminate all that. You won't be able to find my address or anything like that. And so I think you just got to be cautious. You just got to be aware of what you're actually doing and what is actually out there for anybody to see. Like once you put it out there, it can't be erased unless you, like you said, you pay someone to try to eliminate as much as they can.
Mm-hmm. That is a solid
profile on to try to get a job. But it's also telling people where you currently work. So is it very difficult for them to actually search and see where you at? If they really want to get to you, they can go to that building where you work at in that city you work in and wait until you come outside. If it was that serious, you know what I mean? Because you're already putting your business out there. That's why I'm saying it's normal to put your business out there. People are looking at it like, oh, well, if I don't put my resume on LinkedIn, then it's not a good chance that I won't get a job somewhere where I'm only limited in my chances to where I'm currently at. But I might want to get a job in China or something so that I'm going to put all my information where I worked in the past, where I currently work, and not necessarily your address or nothing like that. But people, it's not that hard to do, you know what I mean? But if you really, really wanted to get somebody, you can search that person. For the most part, at least 90% of the entire world their information will be online. It's data. And data, the biggest companies right now are profiting from data. That's how they're thriving on data, and that's how they market to you. I mean, you know that as a finance officer. If you don't got no data, you ain't got a damn thing. So that's why when you put your email somewhere, the next thing you know, you're getting an email from something you never even signed up for, because they're selling that information to another company for profit. And now all of a sudden they're trying to actually get you. That's why when you're like, damn, how the hell did this person get my email? And you're getting these spams, basically. You know what I mean? And you kind of just go from there. That's been going on for at least 30 years now, 25 years at least. And it's only going to get worse.
So it's back to the foundation and the overall general idea of the episode. So understanding that there's pitfalls out there for our children, understanding that technology kind of consumes them, that these major corporations are marketing towards them and their generation. We don't know the long-term effects on technology. We don't know what the future holds for technology. We do understand that currently there are some negatives and there are a ton of pros when it comes to technology. Should we limit is the question. I say yes. We should limit how much exposure we have to our children when it comes to technology, when it comes to social media, when it comes to the internet, when it comes to digital footprints out there, because we don't know what their future holds, right? So we don't want them to, essentially shoot themselves in the foot by getting out there too early. But what is too much is the question. How much screen time should they have per day? How much screen time should they have per week, per month? Should they be allowed to be on social media at a certain age? And if so, what age is that? You know what I mean? When should they get a phone? When should they get a tablet? What video games, online connections and networks should they have? And if so, at what age? So a lot of this stuff, I think about, I'm like, well, I think I'm doing right. Maybe 10, maybe 11, maybe a couple hours a day screen time, or access to social media, access to YouTube so they can binge. What is too much? What, am I hurting my children by allowing them to have 2 hours per day? Because that's my limit. Where did I get that number from? Pulled it out of the thin air. So I'm doing my best from my own sound judgment, but maybe I'm killing it. I think I heard from a professional, a doctor that said that I think an hour a day was plenty when it came to being exposed to TV and or screen time. If that's the case, I'm well over that. If you combine TV and screen time, them on their phones watching YouTube or whatever have you, I'm way over that for each child. So what does right look like? So if any other brothers are out there listening, want to know what you guys do and how you mitigate, or do you mitigate any access to technology, or is it a free for all? And do you see any type of impacts immediately that are negative or that are positive? Because there's a positive side to it, right? My youngest one comes into my room and helps me out with certain technology. He's 9. He's 9, teaching a 38-year-old how to do A, B, or C. A 9-year-old. I wouldn't even fathom that. But there's a con and a negative side to it where they do think they know everything. Never in 1,000 years would I have thought that I know more than my father, because they can easily just Google it up. And my little one will sit there and I'll tell him A, B, or C, because that's how it is. He'll look at me. He'll go on his phone and start Googling it, the answer that I just gave him, to see if I'm correct or not. That didn't exist.
Right, that didn't exist. If your dad or your parents said something, then it was true. You know what I mean? You didn't even want to, or even if it wasn't true, you just didn't say nothing. You know what I mean? But
you didn't have the audacity to check me in real time in my face to try to see what the answer is. So I'm like, okay, all right, I got you. All right.
Well, I do know it's not a free-for-all. That's what I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a free-for-all when it comes to video or technology. But what I will say is, I'm going to go back to the beginning. I think it's per kid. As long as business, I can get them to understand that business and responsibility comes before fun. That's where I'm trying to guide them. Your business, which is school, which is learning just life lessons, and then your responsibility, cleaning the house, making sure you're hygiene is taken care of, those things like that. Then, okay, once all that is completed, then that's when it's fun. Whatever you choose to do with them for that fun, I think it's up to you. But it's definitely not a free-for-all. But what I will ask is there anybody who on here who has firsthand knowledge of a particular negative of it? Firsthand knowledge of a negative that's like, okay, this happened and this is why I have to do this. Now, I will let you guys do know, which is kind of a negative to me, is my oldest son found porn.
How old is he?
12.
Oh, yeah, that was about to happen anyway. So
You see, that's what I'm saying. I think, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think I found it at like 8 with the wiggly lines on cable. When we used to try to look through the wiggly lines, once you scroll up too high, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. That was back in the day, then.
You know what I mean? That's just me being transparent right now. Right. So yeah, the wiggly lines, man. I knew exactly where the channel was and when moms and them was sleeping and everything to go get a sneak, because every now and then it'll freeze.
Showtime after dark.
You get a good 7 seconds of what it was. But I mean, so I did go into his phone, but I'm learning that I have to do that now.
Right.
I have to monitor. Your door is not allowed to be closed. These things like this. So that's where I'm at now. I need to be more engaged. So if I'm going to allow you to do it, now I have to engage you in it. Okay, that's why I said I do sit down there and watch these silly things with my daughter. She's like the YouTube queen right now. I think she can watch YouTube all day with no cable.
How old is she?
She's 8.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? But it's so now I'm starting to, Chloe, instead of doing that yourself, instead of watching them, why don't you make your own channel? Let's make your own channel. Daddy will do it with you if you want to do it. Let's figure out something where we can do. But she's on the shy side, so I have to open her up a little bit more. But at the same time, it's like, and then I guess I don't have TikTok. That's the young people now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But my wife actually got it. So I look at it, and my son, she come in here and show me a video. He hanging on the rim while my other son, I guess, is recording, and he giving the middle finger up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that goes back to what you're saying, Apollo. Like, some of these things can't be taken off.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go in there and explain to him, like, bro, why would you do that? What is that for? What did you? I know you learned it from. It don't even have to be the web, the internet. It's friends at school. Right. Some of these friends at school bring this information, which they probably learned from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. You have to. I think the main thing that if we're going to allow it, is not so much time, because time varies from kid to kid and their understanding and understanding security. The security that you speak of, because I do go over security and not talking to people you do not know. You're not, you know what I mean? Not giving out any of our passwords. I do go over that kind of thing with them, but the security, it varies from kid to kid. It's just a matter of how involved are we going to be inside allowing them to do it.
Right. See, and just to piggyback real quick on Cleve's thing, I would definitely say it's not a free fall, but where are you going to redirect your kids to once you actually set that time limit? So if you're saying it's an hour a day, then you better have a plan to what you plan to have your kids do for the rest of that time while they're awake before they go to bed. So you if you're going to make and create a number and to say you only can actually be on these devices for 1 hour a day, you better have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, they're going to be sitting around just wondering. And that's where the addiction phase is going to come in, because they're going to be trying their best to kind of get back on these devices because you didn't redirect them. And as you as a parent, you as a father, you have to be the one to redirect them. And I think it's easier for them if you set an hour or a time frame, if they know exactly the direction they're going afterwards. So prior to that, you say it's 12 o'clock. Hey guys, at 2 o'clock, everyone's getting off because we're going to go do X. They already know. You know what I mean? But if you give the free for all and you don't know exactly what they're going to do once you get off, and now 2 o'clock comes, you'll be like, get off. Okay, well now what? I don't know. Go watch TV. You know what I mean? It's a different, or you just can't say find something to do or go outside. That's the challenges that I'm having here, because our outside is not a backyard. It's not about, so going outside, and they don't really have a lot of outdoor toys. they're kind of like, well, what are we going to do outside? So I'm allowing my kids to question me because it's actually making me become a better friend. They're not questioning me in a way to where they're trying to check me. They're just more making me realize that, oh, I didn't really think that through.
You know what I mean?
Something. You know what I mean? I got to plan something. So like, hey, Daddy, you just told us to get off the game at 2:00, but it's Saturday. Are we going anywhere? No, we're not. Okay, well, I don't want to watch TV. So can we get back on the game? Mm-hmm. And then often I'll be like, you know what? Damn, yeah, go ahead. You know what I mean? But it's so you kind of like, I always tell myself, like, I'm never going to be this like real super strict parent like you see on movies and like some people actually grew up with, to where like my no is a no. You're welcome to question me as long as this is with respect, right? To where, but if I say no and I have a plan afterwards, then my no is a no. You know what I mean? But if I say no just because, if I say no, for example, real quick, because everybody's loud, I've already came in there, y'all slamming doors, you're super loud, it's 10:00 at night, the neighbors are next door, and I went in there and said, you know what, next time, that's it. And then you do it again, that's it. My no is a no. But if I say on Saturday at 2:00, you're just going to get off, but they're like, where are we going? Then my no can change because I really don't have any plans. I'm just chilling at the house. You know what I mean? What I do know is that when we're out of town or if we're on any sort of vacation or traveling away, they don't get to have them. So they really only get to have them when they're here, and that's their form of entertainment. So it's very difficult to say an hour a day or 2 hours a day, but it's definitely not a free fall. If I had to go and just go out on a limb, I would say somewhere upwards between 1 to 2 hours a day on the weekdays after you've taken care of your business. On the weekends, whether it's just one day, like a Saturday, if you don't have anything planned, give them a free fall on one day just to kind of be a kid. Or Friday between 3:00 and let's say 10:00, 11:00 at night, give them that one good 6-7 hours where it's like, do whatever you got to do. Be a kid, have your fun. But I wouldn't do it multiple days. I think I'm going away from the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday model like I've been doing, because I am noticing some side effects that I don't necessarily like. But at least one day where it's just like, man, do what you got to do. Side effects? I don't know exactly what to call it, but it's something that's happening to where when they get off of it, it's like you're addicted. Just like an addiction. Where
like going through a withdrawal.
It's a withdrawal. Exactly. You're going through a withdrawal. They can't understand anything that I'm saying. It takes me 5 or 10 times to let's go do this. It's like trying to get dressed. Everything is pulling teeth. I do know that. It's definitely a withdrawal, and it's an addiction to where they cannot get off of it immediately. They get off, but then they're all emotional. Mm-hmm. Even when I give them a heads up, I don't just go in there and say, get off the game. Hey, at 2:00, guys, you got to get off. Then 2:00 comes, it's like, oh, you know, why? This is when they are on it for multiple days over the weekend. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But if it's just like they already know that they get their 1 or 2 hours during the week, during a weekday, once their business is taken care of and school's done, it's a lot easier because they already know that it's like 6:00 at night. So school's done at 3:30. Then they got an hour to go outside. Then from 5 to 6:30, it's a free for all. Now, after 6:30, it's good because they already know it's dinner time, it's shower time. You know what I mean? And then you can kind of wind down reading a book, and then it's bedtime. That's a schedule. On the weekends, everything is not really set in schedule, not anymore, at least due to COVID. But when prior to this, people had soccer games, you had football, basketball games. So you were able to actually limit the screen time. Now we can't do any of that. Mm-hmm. So what do you really do? To me, I will give my kids more because that is their form of entertainment. I do want my kids to be kids at the end of the day, but I don't think every day should be a free fall. You should give them at least one free fall day a week, and then kind of just monitor it, see how they actually act when you actually take it away from them.
And I think I am starting to realize that things that you show, I've waited this long to break out a deck of cards and show my kids how to play I Declare War, Speed, Match. But then now my daughter starts to want to get in there with me. Oh, Dad, I play you in Speed. My kids, I play you in Speed now. So they're open to doing the other things other than them. But I have to be honest. Do I really be having the time, or in my head, do I have the time to actually do it with them? Because I'm a business owner myself, so I'm in here working on my business on my computer, and then all they're doing is simply just following suit on what they see Daddy do all day long. You on your computer, let me get on mine. But if I do have the free time, I think that's where we need to, as dads, show them the things that we did that was fun, because they were fun, and they still are fun. It still can be fun for them if we take ourselves out of this business or our own computer screens or phone screens and spend that time with them. So I do get a lot. That's what I say. When I go outside and they do want to play basketball sometimes, they do want to play football. They come in the house, Dad, I did this. You should have seen this catch. And I'm thinking in my head like, dang, I should have been out there to see the catch instead of him coming in and telling me about the catch. Right. But then once he's done, but then my mind falls back into work mode and I'm on the computer. And then what's he going to do? Now, outside it's too dark to go play. Video game it is for him. So right. I think the growth's also on us. Some of it's going to come on us.
So what I was going to say is that as we wind this episode down, I wanted to give everybody else a final thought to chime in. Think about in your final thoughts of how you proceed with your own children, and understanding with COVID-19, the pandemic restrictions, and the social distancing requirement, you can't do certain things as usual. Like Joe said, at least for me, we would be in sports or some type of venue on the weekends that would engulf a good portion of my Saturday and or Sunday. And then screen time on the weekends was minimal because usually throughout the day we're doing some type of sport. On the weekdays when they're in school, it's usually only at night, so it's very minimal. But when you're talking about you're in close quarters for as long as we've been for this COVID-19 social distancing pandemic, it's troubling. And to me, we can't get in a normal battle rhythm. I restrict time to a couple hours a day for screen time, but then what do? I have to work. And if it's my wife trying to take care of the boy because she's currently not working, she has to, peel out certain things and actively be engaging them in order to keep them occupied. It's a fine balance. My oldest, he said to me today, "Hey, Daddy, you worked way too much." What do you mean I worked way too much? He was like, every single time that you are home when you're working from home, you're always in your screen, and I really want to share and do A, B, or C with you. So I find myself having to have mandatory break time where I stop what I'm doing no matter what, and I go out and shoot a game of horse with my boys, or I show them how to step like the award-winning Sigma's can only do. So
I don't know about all that, but yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, so I have to interact with them, especially while they're young, because they'll never be at this age again, right? So
right.
You can't. I mean, that's the one thing that you can never get back is time. Everything else, money, all these riches, all that stuff, material things, you can always get back. You lose time, you'll never be able to get that thing back again. So I have to manage my time and my schedule, especially when I'm around the boys. And this summer is going to be interesting, especially if this COVID-19 social distancing thing continues past the June timeframe. So for me, what I do with my children is I limit them to about a couple hours throughout the day. On Saturdays, I give them less restrictions. I kind of almost like what Joe was saying, a free for all. And then on Sundays, I pull it back because I have seen what Joe was also saying affect if you give them too much all at once. It's like giving them a whole bunch of chocolate. They'll eat themselves sick. Right. So I give them, hey, yeah, you can go ahead and do this. And then I start pulling it back as it gets to the days for them to go back to school. So that's how I do it. I do see negatives to technology. I did start my boys off relatively young, exposing them to those apps for those educational apps and everything around 3 or 4 or 5. I do think that I want to get ahead and teach them the social norms and teach them how to actually have a conversation face to face with somebody without getting all wonky like I see in some of the young adults today. And that's the way I'm going to go forward, kind of teaching my boys and limiting them to screen time. So I'll pass it on to Alfred. We'll just go around the horn for closeout comments.
I think you just got to ride the wave with society and what society has out. Because like for me, like just take, for instance, a cell phone. My first cell phone wasn't until I was a freshman in college. Now kids these days, they're getting a cell phone in elementary school. So just notice that gap. That's almost a decade plus of now kids getting introduced to this technology. So I think for me having a newborn, it may be even earlier than that, that he's introduced to technology. So I think just got to roll with, what's out there, what's available, and just kind of make sure that you continue to have that balance. Because like I said, with my nephew, I noticed that because he was on it so much that his speech has been delayed a little bit, So I definitely going to be looking into that to where it's going to be a nice equal balance, whether it's educational or whether it's just for fun. But it definitely has to be a balance. You just kind of got to kind of roll with what's being put out there in society, because when technology advances, so does society. And what I mean by that is when the cell phone came out, they took away the pay phones, so it didn't give us another option to call someone. So as more technology comes out, society pulls stuff that we were used to away from us. So all we have to depend on is what's out currently, So like if we was to not pay our cell phone bill for 30 days, where else are we going to use the phone? How many, pay phones are on the street right now?
You can whip out your pager.
Right. So we kind of, right. So we kind of just subject to what, society has, because when technology advances, so does society.
Yeah. When's the last time you seen a phone book?
Oh man, it's probably been decades.
Yeah, so right along with that phone booth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you got, Cleve?
Well, I think if I was moving forward, man, I think I like the way Joe said, because I'm the king of go get off the game, go find something to do. That's me. I'm the king of it. So, but they also, I know they have other things that could be done. But I think moving forward, just as a self-aware moment, spending that time, more time with them outside when, like Joe said, give them something to do and do it with them, not just go ahead and do it by yourself, not isolate them. My kids are getting older. I'm dealing with, like I told you guys, I'm dealing with the social media, the internet, the finding of things, them finding themselves. I am realizing that since I have one older boy, the younger boy is maturing faster.
Yep.
He's maturing faster, and then, which in turn, my daughter is maturing faster. They're seeing all three of my kids have cell phones. I'm terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I didn't buy none of them. Their grandparents bought them the phone.
Yeah, there you go.
But they all have them. They all have access to them, the games and stuff like that. But I do need to, just moving forward, take my time and spend it with them a little bit more when I do tell them to get off, and get off mines as well. I've been to the point where I went camping. I'm a short story real quick. Sorry, guys. Went camping in the Los Angeles County forest. There is no cell phone service in Los Angeles County. And I'm out there, and I have never fiended for social media so bad. I literally drove 15 minutes till I found a cell phone signal in the perfect spot. And the funny thing is, when you sit there, I had to sit there and be still, because if I move, I lost cell phone service. So I have to look at Facebook like this. I'm sitting there without moving. So the addiction is real, and you're not lying. But I think I need to go ahead and check myself internally. But you got to go ahead.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say to kind of end things is creating a work-life balance. That's always something I start the year off right before, like December 30th, December 31st. I always try to write down some of my goals. You know what I mean? And then I kind of forget about them second quarter, maybe like March, April, around this time. I think what I'm going to start doing, though, just from these conversations that we had today, is just really go back and really check on my work-life balance sheet on a weekly basis to try to see, where my time is actually going. And if it's actually not balanced, I want to make sure that it gets back to it, because a lot of weeks you can go where it's completely off balance and you're not going to know it unless someone checks you. You know what I mean? So either this group to where we can actually discuss that and be like, okay, what went great and what went wrong, you know what I mean, in your work-life balance this past week. It could be, a quick topic of the discussion, just so that we can actually keep each other accountable. You know what I mean? To make sure, because what's going on is that technology is changing at a rapid pace. We definitely know that. But what I'm getting from this conversation today is that we have to all get in there and be immersed with our kids so that they know when we actually limit it, they know where we're coming from. So I think if you educate them on why we're limiting it, then they'll understand it versus just telling them get off. You know what I mean? But also, if you're actually playing with them and having fun with them, it's that time is going to go by so much greater. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be having more fun because they're spending that time with you. That even when you do say, you know what, all right, it's time for us to get going, they're going to enjoy that, and they're going to remember that a lot longer than they're going to remember just constantly playing with their friends on a daily basis. So my thing has always been to keep educating myself on a yearly basis, on a daily basis. But now I really want to start going and narrowing in. Okay, we got this game. What is this game all about? Let's go in there and play it together. And then as I see that this game is safe and this game is cool for my kids, by playing with them, I can slowly back off of it and let them play, knowing that it's a pretty decent game and I see where their education is on this game. But then if I don't plan on doing that, it's almost like, what's the point of actually purchasing the game? I'm doing this to say, get away from me. If you buy a bunch of games and a bunch of things for your kids to play, but you have never played with them, you're just doing that. It's a shush money. Like, get out. You know what I mean? Here, go do something as far as entertainment, but I don't want no part of that. So you're doing everything you can to keep them away from you. And I want to get away from that approach. I want to actually be like, here, I just found this game. Let's learn it together. You know what I mean? And if it's a game, if it's a learning app, there's so many different things that you can learn using technology. Right now, you can be taking time to learn 2 or 3 different languages over the last couple of months since we've been here. It's not just game. You know what I mean? There's you can download National Graphic Channel and go into Safaris and look and really, and you can do a safari escape in Africa. There's apps that can immerse you to where you are using technology, but it's not just a game. You know what I mean? There's things to where you can really educate yourself, and it's educating you, because majority of us now that we became teachers, we don't remember half the stuff we was taught in high school, but we have to actually teach our kids now that we're doing homeschool. So when you go to these multiplication and divisions, we jacked up. Because we like, man, I ain't done that in 20 years, actually 25 years since I've actually didn't have to use a calculator and had to divide this and divide that. You forget because, you know what I mean, you ain't used it in a while. But if you really just start doing things with your kids, I think it's going to be, your kids will appreciate that much, but then you will start appreciating. But I will say, take care of yourself first. I always say, if you can put yourself first, whether you get up early and knock some things out on a personal level that has nothing to do with work, just what is it that you want to do? To me, I put myself first when I get up. So I always like to have at least an hour or an hour and a half of something that I want to do. And I always try to do that before anybody gets up. That way, when everybody gets up, then I'm all yours. You know what I mean? But if I can't get that good hour, like even like this on a Sunday where it's just us and we're talking, if you don't get that time frame, you start to get frustrated throughout the day because you ain't got no time to yourself. When you get that hour to yourself, then it's easier for you to give majority of your time to your family. But sometimes you don't want to, it's not even using the words, I don't want to be bothered. It's just like, I need a moment to think. Where am I at right now in life? Where am I trying to go? If that's what you're thinking, that's what you're thinking. But you need that uninterrupted 1 hour good time to just, not even social media, just like, what am I doing with my life? Is it going in the right direction or the wrong direction? And what do I need to do to improve whatever's going on, no matter what? And then you can actually start giving your time to your kids and to your family. But if you can't take that good hour a day to just give back to yourself, it's going to be difficult for you to give anything away.
Right. I definitely dig what Joe is laying down. So I'm big on to-do lists. The first thing I do in the morning, have some time to myself, write down what I'm going to accomplish for the week. And out of that week, like tomorrow, I'll do that. On Monday, I'll write down what I'm going to do for the week, and then my to-do list per day for that week, what I need to, carve out. And then, like I said earlier, I start building in how much time, I'm going to spend with the boys, with the wife, because you can't forget about her, and make sure that I'm spending my time equally, having that work, family balance, to make sure that I am equally distributed and that I'm not overdoing one or the other. Is it always perfect? No. Do I often fail? Yes, but you have a plan going forward, and that's what I try to execute. Very military-like precision when I wake up in the morning. Going back to technology, that's the moral of the story from what I'm getting, is that, hey, it's here. It's not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to progress and consume more and more of our daily lives. I feel like a dinosaur. I'm not a conventional person that the first thing they do when they wake up, they check their phone for whatever's going on. I wake up, I take care of myself, I relax, I do some prayer, I do some other stuff. I don't want to engage when it comes to certain things, especially social media and technology right off the bat. That's just me. And because I'm me, I try to expose my children to that. I try to give them a sense of where I come from to kind of keep a calm amongst everything that's going on in the digital world. So with that said, we'll go ahead and wrap up today. And I think we probably need to hit this topic a couple more times, because I even want to, for a future episode, bring one of our kids in and have them give their standpoint one of our sons maybe on how technology kind of influenced their day-to-day lives and get it from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one thing for us to say, hey, yeah, this, that, and the third. And then for them to say, hey, this is critical to my well-being, me being on this game, me being in this social media environment, whatever have you. It's one thing for us to speculate about how technology affects them. It's a whole other thing for them to tell us in real time how technology is ingrained in the fabric of their lives. I think that ought to be interesting, and that ought to be a good conversation for them to have with us in the open forum.
Today's dad quote. I got this information off of allprodad.com from a post written by Scott Kridra titled 8 Communication Skills Kids Today Have Lost. It argues that there are 8 communication skills that our children either lose or don't fully develop due to technology. In order, number 1, the ability to speak. This has to do with them not developing the verbal communication or social cues due to an inherent reliance on technology. Number 2, the ability to think and communicate on the fly. Most device communication is heavily filtered before delivered through text or via email. Face-to-face communication, however, requires the use of spontaneous and to be able to think in the moment. A device-driven, text-centered culture leads our kids to edit and control their communication. In-person communication with others becomes awkward. Number 3, communicating with reading nonverbals. Communicating through device degrades our children's ability to pick up on nonverbal communication. Number 4, the ability to focus derives the idea that since we are using alternate means to communicate while in person, our children are focused on their own needs and wants instead of interacting with people around them. Number 5, communicating in authenticity. We can hide behind our screens and keyboards. Face-to-face communication makes it much tougher to hide what's really going on. Number 6, interacting face-to-face. Let's face it, we are human beings. We are social creatures. From time to time, we just want to look someone in the eye and cry on someone's shoulder or laugh with someone to get and give a reassuring hug. More reliant we become on written text communication, the more we will miss out on encouragement and affection from a friend. Number 7, the ability to desire to listen. Our kids don't possess the ability to listen to adults or their friends. At the same time, they listen to music, shows, or games on their devices. Not only do our kids lack the ability, they lack the desire. Our kids choose to ignore or time out others instead of engaging with them. Number 8, the ability to build an argument. When our kids are used to communicating in short bursts, they lose the ability to build a case or an argument. So much of life as an adult is centered around putting together cohesive thoughts that build upon each other. Our kids learn to communicate with emojis, bitmojis, GIFs instead of words, which holds them back from putting together deeper thoughts or arguments. And that is it for today. Please join our Facebook group at Brothers in Fatherhood or follow us on Instagram at Brothers in Fatherhood and on Twitter at Bros in Fatherhood. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Brothers in Fatherhood. Thanks for listening to the Brothers in Fatherhood podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite new podcast by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Stay tuned for next week where we'll discuss teaching your children the basics about money. Why do Black folks typically fail at teaching their children about finances? We would love to hear from you. Drop the Brotherhood a line. If you have a subject you want us to tackle or you just want your voice to be heard, please send all questions and comments to brothers@brothersinfatherhood@gmail.com. Stay safe.